I'm going to read from my book on evolution, Strickberger's Evolution, 4th edition. Chapter 1, Before Darwin. Many intellectual threads led to the modern theory of evolution, a theory that requires recognition that Earth is ancient, that there is a common inheritance within a biological group, and that natural events can be explained by discoverable natural laws. But it took a long time before these threads were woven into an evolutionary tapestry. Plato's idealistic concept and all natural phenomena are imperfect representations of the true essence of an ideal unseen world, was for centuries the prevailing philosophy in Western Europe. Following Platonic ideas, Aristotle suggested that not only were species immutable, but that there was a hierarchical order of species from most imperfect to most perfect, a concept refined over the centuries as the great chain of being. In hindsight, this philosophy profoundly inhibited the development of evolutionary ideas because it maintained that the world of essences is perfect and all change is illusory. This unchanging order remained unquestioned until inexplicable gaps in the chain of nature prompted philosophers such as Gottfried Leibniz to propose that the universe was not perfect, only that it might go through successive intermediate stages on the way to perfection. By the 17th and 18th centuries, new attention to animals and plants as well as far-flung explorations led to an increasing interest in classifying organisms within the natural chain. The Swedish founder of taxonomy, Carolus Linnaeus, revolutionized systematics by using the species as the basic unit and building a hierarchical system from species upward to larger taxonomic categories. The naturalist Buffon, Georges-Louis Leclerc, Comte de Buffon, went farther, implying that the species is not just a category and classification, but rather the only natural grouping of historical and interbreeding entities. Buffon maintained that a species was a real but static unit. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck evaded this problem by proposing that species are arbitrary, not real, and that there must be forms intermediate between species, so Lamarck's view of a species was very different from Charles Darwin's. If species were arbitrary, Lamarck, then species never went extinct but instead evolved into other species. The idea is that organisms could arise from non-living materials by spontaneous generation, or that they did not change during their embryonic development but were preformed in their ancestors, provided perfectly rational explanations to questions posed at the time. Not until late in the 19th century was spontaneous generation finally disproved. Many of the first Darwinians believed in it, and the idea established that organisms developed epigenetically, that is, by differentiating from undifferentiated tissues. At last, biological phenomena became amenable to rational explanation. Discovery of a fossil record of life became a rich source of data for individuals trying to understand relationships between organisms. The discovery of fossils of unknown types of organisms, that was the first. Second, organisms similar to, but not the same as organisms living in that locality. And third, the apparently inappropriate location of some fossils suggested that Earth's surface and the organisms on it had existed for a long time, and that organisms succeeded one another through time. These ideas conflicted, however, with the Judeo-Christian view of a recent origin, according to which fossil data were interpreted to accord with biblical catastrophes such as the Noachian flood or as jokes of nature. Geologists asserted that fossil evidence was only explicable if Earth was indeed old and if forces of nature had shaped its surface. Changes on Earth's surface would have led to alterations in the organisms that lived on it, and these changes would be reflected in their fossil remains. Charles Lyell, a contemporary of Darwin's, invalidated the idea that capricious catastrophic and miraculous events had influenced Earth's geological structure. Lyell developed the earlier principle of uniformitarianism, in which the same geological forces acted in the past as in the present. Extrapolating processes back in the time helped establish the validity of a world that was both comprehensible and rational. Yes, sir. So yeah, I totally mispronounced a couple of those words. I'm so sorry. And I definitely didn't know the French words, the French names. I'm not a linguist. Okay, sorry. But right under that we have biological evolution is concerned with inherited changes in populations of organisms over time, leading to differences among them. Individuals do not evolve in the sense that an individual exists only for one generation. Individuals within each generation, however, do respond to natural selection. Genes within individuals, genotypes, in a population which are passed down from generation to generation, and the features, phenotypes, of individuals in successive generations of organisms do evolve. Accumulation of heritable responses to selections of the phenotype generations after generations lead to evolution, Darwin's descent with modification. All organisms, no matter how we name, classify, or arrange them on the tree of life, are bound together by four essential facts. They share a common inheritance. Their past has been long enough for inherited changes to accumulate. The discoverable taxonomic relationships among organisms are the result of evolution. Discoverable biological processes explain both how organisms arose and how they were modified through time by the process of evolution. Although each of these aspects has been studied and discussed at various times in human history, only after Charles Darwin developed and published his theory in the mid-19th century did biological evolution become an acceptable scientific, in parentheses, naturalistic, alternative to earlier explanations. Darwin's proposed mechanism, natural selection, however, was regarded by many to be of secondary importance to evolution. The acceptance that organisms could change over time brought about enormous shifts in the way we view the world and explain natural phenomena. We begin our exploration by looking at some of the earliest attempts to understand the world around us. And that's why I really like this book, because it dives deep into the origin, not only Charles Darwin, but previous ideas, from Lamarck and Linnaeus, and it's just really a very informative book. It's years out of date, yes, but you can still learn a whole lot from it. I mean, it's not the most up to date, but I bought it for like $3. I mean, it was a steal, man, honestly. I mean, I didn't steal it. No, no, no. But it was cheap.